Okay, welcome everybody. Today we are doing a masterclass about something that I'm super passionate about because it is one of the things that massively changed my firm in terms of getting more clients in the door, having predictability on how many clients, how many conversions, and also spend. And just the thing that really makes the difference for making sure that you have that ultimate control over your marketing rather than it feeling like it's something that is just happening naturally to have any control over it. So this is a really awesome topic, and if you guys it absolutely will change your business. So let's get stuck into it. So we're talking about tracking your metrics for your marketing and why it makes a big difference and how it can really help you to grow with confidence. If you have any questions, I am keeping an eye on the chat, so you can feel free to ask away if there's anything there. So when it comes to your law firm marketing, would you say you are guessing or are you 100% knowing from data and facts what's working, what's not, what it's costing, what the return on your investment is? Let me know in the chat where you're at with your marketing, whether you're knowing or you're just kind of guessing. Most law firm owners I'm finding that I'm talking to don't know their numbers properly, and they don't even really know where to start. So if you are guessing, like Natasha is, thanks for letting us know, Natasha, then it's because you don't have the strategy in place yet. But when you do have the strategy in place, you are going to be completely in control, and it's going to make a really big difference to how you run your marketing and the cost of it as well. So running by gut feel isn't really that helpful. And what will end up happening is that you'll get lots of leads that are wasting your time, also wasting money, and you're going to get missed opportunities because while you're on the phone for 20 minutes to a tire kicker, there might be a call with a real client that you've missed, for example. So this law firm marketing scorecard really does make all the difference. And if you can implement it and get it running really well, it will absolutely change your business. So the key outcomes today is that we want you to be able to build a simple scorecard that's going to track your marketing metrics. I've got all of it for you, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel or build it yourself. And I'll share with you how to implement it. We're going to be able to identify what your highest performing marketing channels are, and we're going to be able to connect your marketing activity with revenue and make it really repeatable so that you can just do it over and over again. So the danger of flying blind on all of your numbers, but when we're talking about marketing spend, the danger of, there's plenty of dangers. One of them, for example, you spend $12,000 on SEO over 12 months. Now that would be very inexpensive, by the way. I've spent anywhere up to $4,000 a month on SEO, but you don't actually know where your inquiry is coming from. So you don't know if the money is being spent well. So an example of that in real life, say in my firm, is you talk to your SEO agency and they say to you, oh, look, you're appearing on the front page now. Look how amazing we are and how well we've done for this keyword. But the reality is you're not actually necessarily getting any calls through that SEO or through that keyword, but you don't actually know because you're not measuring it. So you're just guessing and you're continuing to spend $1,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month on SEO, but you don't really know if it's working or not. That's a lot of money in your law firm, but everyone tells you you need to spend the money on SEO, so you keep doing it. Another example is that people are calling your reception in your firm, but you're not sure if they're successfully converting or how many calls your reception is getting that are time wasters. So you're wasting a lot of resources. And worse, that could be someone being put through to you, interrupting your workflow during the day if you don't have an optimized onboarding system. So making sure that we are not putting reception calls through to you because you're really keen to catch that deal. You don't want it to you don't want that call to be missed, but you just find out that really they're ringing for the wrong purpose and possibly just wasting your time. So we need to make sure we know how many are ringing, how many are convertible, and that they're not time wasters. Another example is that you have a team of solicitors that are taking initial appointments, or maybe you're doing the initial appointments yourself, but you're not really sure if they're converting. So we want you to be able to say, I convert 52% and that solicitor converts 35%. We want you to be able to know those numbers exactly. Another example is that you're running Google Ads at a significant cost. Let's say it's $4,000 a month, but you're not sure what the return on investment is on those ads. So you don't actually know if it's working or not. You've engaged a marketing agency to help you with your firm, but you can't work out if the investment is increasing revenue. And so a marketing agency will say to you, oh, look how many clicks you're getting, or look how many impressions you're getting for your website. It doesn't mean anything if they're not converting to actual clients, and we don't actually know that. So that's another risk when you don't know what your numbers are. And the sixth example is, that was the sixth example. They are exactly the same because I didn't update it. There you go. So facts or gut instinct. So where are you at with your marketing? And we really want to know the facts of our marketing and what is actually happening. And it's funny because we're all lawyers and we all love facts. But when it comes to our marketing, we don't work the same often in our businesses. So we need to put that legal brain around facts into our marketing strategies as well. So we need to know, like, how many leads are we getting every single week? So I'd love to be able to ask you all, how many leads are you getting? And that you can instantly say to me, oh, I've got 20 phone calls last week, or I got 20 leads. They came from this many phone calls, this many calendar appointments, and this many emails. How many of those leads are your ideal clients? This is a really important thing as well. And we'll talk about why that is as we move on. And are these calls converting to initial appointments? Some of them they be converting to initial appointments, but maybe some of them are time wasters. So we don't actually want those ones to convert. We need to make sure that we're working out through our data who's a time waster and what questions our reception might be able to ask so that they don't get put into a funnel where they're wasting time of lawyers in your firm or your time. And then from there, are they converting to retained clients, and how many are converting to retained clients? Another really important piece of data to know, you don't have to measure this every week, but I would definitely say look at it every 6 months. What's your average client worth to your law firm? Now, if you, on average, so if you've got different practice areas, or even say, for example, if you're litigation or family law, where you've got a huge range, we're just looking for an average there. So, some matters might be 60,000 for the matter, some might be 5,000 for the matter, but we need to know the average. That's going to really help us with knowing how many inquiries we need, because then we'll know how many we convert, and then we can actually work out what that is going to mean for our firm financially. If you have lots of practice areas in your firm or different services, then work it out per service area as well. Get right into those numbers. So as you all know, not all leads are equal. Who here gets sick and tired of time wasters or tire kickers? I certainly found them very exhausting. And you can pretty much know within 10 minutes of a call if you've got someone like that, but then it can become very hard to extract you from the call. So how do we protect our firm and ourselves from not having to deal with these time wasters? So let's say we get 20 leads into our firm. How many of them are quality and how many of them are time wasters? And it's really important to know this, but if you're not measuring, you're not going to know how many leads you're getting, nor are you going to know how many are quality and how many are time wasters. This is really important because it can help you close the gap between your marketing message and who's actually calling your firm. And then we need to put other quality controls in there as well, so that when we actually do speak to a lead, that they are a quality lead that we can convert. So we might only out of those leads get, say, 10 ideal clients, but you're not going to know that until you're collecting the data. So examples of this is you get 10 property division inquiries, like for family law, 4 will inquiries, 3 child support inquiries, and 3 legal aid inquiries. Out of these, if you're a family lawyer, we probably are mostly in property inquiries as our quality leads. And so how can we get more of those and less of these other things? What are we putting out in the marketplace that might give the indication that we are a law firm that does child support or helps with people's wills when we're not? And maybe it's something in our messaging, maybe it's something that we're advertising. And I've got stories of this. For example, we were getting child support inquiries, lots of, according to our receptionist. We actually, because we recorded the data, we actually had 3 in 1 month. And I was very interested why we got 3 child support inquiries in a month when we don't do child support. I had given my Google ads over to an agency, and I had not checked my Google ads. I had just left them to it because they're the expert. When I went through the Google ads, they were advertising with my money for child support. It's not something as family lawyers that we want to be getting involved with. There's no money in it, and they are tire kickers. Because I had the data, I was able to look into that and really check it out and find the reason why. And it was about my messaging, and it was me not taking responsibility for really looking into what the ads people were advertising for. So if you're getting 20 inquiries and you're getting 10 that are time wasters and 10 that are great clients, that's resources in your firm that you are wasting, and we need to work out how we can stop those calls from coming in. And often it starts with what messaging we've got out in the marketplace. But if you don't have that data, you're not going to be able to find those issues and solve those problems. So the data and capturing that data allows you to tweak your marketing so that you can get those quality leads. Now, it does take time. It's not something you start collecting and you can make tweaks on tomorrow. You have to start seeing patterns, and then over time you can tighten that marketing spend, get better quality, and just work on it as you go. So another really important question that you should know the answer to is, what's the conversion rate of your firm at every level? And so what I mean by every level is every level of your marketing funnel. So your first part of the marketing funnel is leads, so inquiries. So at Collective Family Law, we would every month without fail get about between 105 and 115 leads every single month. And those leads were calls and appointments, they were calendar appointments, and they were email inquiries that came into the firm. So then out of those leads, that we would touch with a smaller amount, because not everyone would call, would respond back, chasing maybe dead leads, say if it was an email inquiry or a calendar appointment. And then out of that, a smaller number would make an appointment. And out of our between 105 and 115 we would get approximately 7 appointments every single month locked in. And then how many do you retain out of that? What's the percentage? So you can see at every level, if you know how many leads you're receiving into the firm, and you know how many calls you're actually having with clients, and then you know how many appointments are being, and you know how many retained clients there are, then you have a funnel that you can really work with and tweak and make better and better, so that your firm isn't wasting resources and it's getting maximum quality, and your money that you're spending and your time that you're spending on your marketing is working well for you. So this is how you create the predictability in your firm. So here's some examples. 70 inquiries. So 50% of them become appointments. Then 20 retain, and that creates predictable income. And the idea is once you know these numbers, you can tweak this funnel at each level. So for example, how many leads are we getting that are really time wasters or something that we don't offer? How can we make that so we're getting less leads but better quality? How many appointments are we getting? Let's do less appointments but better quality ones. And then you're going to be able to get your retained clients and that conversion rate up, which is so important. So this is all about creating a predictable appointment engine in your law firm. Now, you'll have lots of different places that you get work from, but it's about working out which ones work really well for your firm. You can then hire predictably. So what I mean by that is that, often it's hard to hire lawyers, but the best way to hire is when the right person comes along, rather than in a reactionary position where you're desperate for someone. And when the right person comes along, it's not necessarily when you've got work in your firm. But if you have predictability, what that means is that you can turn levers up or down and you can create more. So I just knew 100% that I would be able to fill a family lawyer's file load within about 6 weeks. So I knew every single month that we would retain 21 clients, and we would be, if I gave all those initial appointments to the new hire, that they would be able to have a full file load by about 6 weeks, which, having that predictability gives you a lot of confidence. So the other important thing is knowing where your law firm inquiry is coming from. Now, all of you will say, oh, it's referral, and I've got this mortgage broker who sends me a bit of work, or I've got these lawyers who send me some work over here. But to actually know, like really know, is where the difference is, rather than you just thinking you know. Because sometimes the data really does tell a different story from what we think we know. So it allows us to really work out what marketing is working in our firm and what marketing isn't working in our firm. It saves us time, money, and effort. So for example, if you are someone who doesn't really like networking, and it drains you, but you feel like you have to do it, do you have to do it? Are you measuring if that time you're spending and money that you're spending on networking, maybe you're buying tables at breakfasts, or maybe you're selling gifts, is it really working, the money, time, and effort that you're spending on that? And if so, what's the return on it, for example? You need to work out what your exact return on investment is for every single area of marketing. And if we break it down into the 3 sections, referral marketing, organic marketing, and your paid ads. So examples of those 3: referral marketing isn't just word of mouth, it's intentional marketing that you're spending money and time on, going out, creating relationships. Your organic marketing is your SEO, your website, your social media. We can sometimes spend a lot of money on our social media, for example, but is it working for your law firm, and how do you know that? And is the return on investment there for you? If you're doing it yourself, it's a lot of time, and it is an investment if you're getting someone else to do it for you. So really knowing And then say your paid ads might be your, you might be doing all sorts of things paid. You could do banners, you could do banner ads, you could do some community stuff out in the, the football field. You could do Google ads, or you could do meta ads. But how do you know if it's really or not if you're not measuring it? So how much is it also costing to acquire a client per campaign or per thing you're running? And I think one of the mistakes that we make as law firms is we think that, oh, the referral marketing is not really costing us anything. But really, there is a cost to referral marketing if we're doing it properly. So making sure that we know what the costs are on each of these things. Running our websites, it's all cost. And so knowing the cost of each individual marketing campaign that we're doing, and then being able to attribute how many people you have retained via each of those strategies. What it helps you to do is actually lower your marketing spend. My marketing spend at my law firm at times, particularly when I was not earning as much in the firm, I remember engaging a SEO company, and they were charging about 40 grand a month, and I was paying 40 grand a month. I'm not 40, sorry, 40 grand a year. I was paying 40 grand a year, not really knowing it. That's a lot of money just to be like throttle and hoping that it sticks. So I actually lowered my marketing spend massively after making sure that we knew what the results were, because then I could really focus on what actually worked and only the marketing on what works. So know how well, also this is another one, knowing how well each of your staff are converting. If you're not the only one doing your sales calls, so your initial appointment, we call in law, if you're not the only one doing your initial appointment and you've got other team members doing your initial appointments, how are they converting? Do you have a sales strategy set up for them? So that's another masterclass other than today. But it honestly can vary so much between different solicitors. I had a solicitor who would convert at under 20%, 19%, whereas I would convert and other lawyers in my team could convert at 50% on our marketing strategies, which was mostly Google it. Well, actually, it was Google Ads, referral, and organic. And each of those do convert differently. Referral marketing converts higher. So the return on investment can sometimes, depending on what your spend is, can sometimes be better because the conversion is higher. But the problem is, right, like let's say you are low on clients and you need to get some new clients to feed the team. You would not, if you know the conversion rate in your firm, you would not give those sales calls, those initial appointments to the lower converting lawyer. That is not a smart strategy. You need to give those appointments to the highest converting lawyer. Now, the problem with that is that that highest converting lawyer, their file load is probably full because they are so good at converting. So you need a strategy on how you're going to manage making sure that the clients get passed on to other lawyers in the firm. Just because they're not a high converting lawyer doesn't mean they're not a great lawyer. In fact, my lowest converting lawyers were lawyers in the firm. That's why they didn't convert well. Too technical, confused clients, give them too much information, clients walked away without retaining. So yeah, looking into all of those numbers so that you know, because what that means is that if you do need clients and you know those numbers, it means that every 100 clients that comes through the door as a lead, why would you convert only 20 with that lawyer when you could convert 50 with this lawyer? So those numbers are really important. Yeah, they don't all convert equally. And, you know, I knew that I converted well. Most of you guys will convert very well too, because your livelihood depends on it. Our solicitors, their livelihoods don't depend on it. That's the difference. So here's some ideas about your conversion and spend. So say, for example, we've got Google Ads, we're spending whatever it is, and we've got 50 retained clients from our Google Ads, and we know that conversion or cost per acquisition is $497. Then we might have SEO, so everything you're doing, say, around your organic growth of your website, and you know that you've got 30 clients that have come organically, and that it's $600 per conversion. Referral marketing, and then is another one there. So dividing what spend you've got for your referral marketing, and then you've got, say, something like, and I love giving this example just because it's a great example that I've lived through. I purposefully advertised for 9 months twice, so 18 months, 9 months on one radio station here on the Gold Coast and 9 months on another one, both with my target market. Over that period of time and the spend, which was quite significant, we only retained about 7 clients, and the cost of that client was about $3,000. So after I did that experiment and tested and measured it, which was years ago now, say, I don't know, around maybe 2020 or 2019, somewhere around there, I knew 100%, I know that it's not worth spending the money on it. I know it's not, because the conversion rate, the cost per acquisition is just way too high. So I could know for a fact, because I have given it a good go, 18 months, 2 different stations, and I have tested and measured it. I can confidently say, no, no, thank you. The accounts manager from those radio stations. And when I hear other law firms advertising on the radio stations, I know that they're not getting the results. It sounds amazing, but I just know the results aren't there. So it's really, really. Anna said they did radio at Evolve Legal where they didn't get a single lead. We did get some leads, but man, they were expensive leads and definitely not worth it compared to, other spend money on Google Ads at $497 if that works for your firm. But you're not going to know it until you test and measure, know the facts with the figures. So total advertising spend $82,000, and the average dollar spend, say, of the client is $7,000, let's say. So for all of those clients that you have received, is $917,000. So when you know your average dollar spend of your each client, then you can know, if I want to make $1 million extra this year, or I want to make $1 million, then I divide that by the average dollar spend, and then I know how many clients I need to acquire. And then you can go about working on how are you going to get them in, which funnel source. And I suggest you do all 3: paid, referral, and organic. And when you know your figures, you don't need to be scared of the spend, because it's a fact. You can see the facts there, and there's nothing to worry about, because you're not guessing. You're not just chucking up and seeing what works and hoping for the best, which may or may not pan out for you. So when you don't test and measure, you will have lots of questions, and you'll have lots of concerns. You'll think, oh, I hope it works. It's a lot of money. I don't know if the agency is pulling the wool over my eyes. They say SEO, but I'm thinking I should do Google Ads. I don't know what I should be doing. You're going to have all of these questions. Whereas when you have the facts, because you've got the data, then you are not going to have the questions. You're just going to know for a fact, right? And we are lawyers. We like facts. So stick with the facts with your marketing as well. Shireen has asked a great question, which is, how long is a good time period to test a new marketing channel? I would say you at least need to give it 6 months. But if you have successfully got other channels up and running, then it's okay to test something for 6 months. Like I did the radio ads. And the thing is you're in business for a really long time. So that radio ad experience was now years and years ago, but for years now, I've been able to know it's just not the best investment. So maybe, so I can with confidence know that I shouldn't do it again. 6 months, I would say, for anything that you do. So yeah, all of these questions are going to be sorted out if you are testing and measuring. So how do I know when I'm going to need to hire a new lawyer, or are these ads even working? Everything seems so unpredictable. Or what marketing works best for law firms? These are some of the questions that you might have, and you won't need them. They'll be answered for you in your data. So you're going to remove all this doubt and create predictability. You're definitely going to save money, which is going to increase your profit, because the less you can spend on marketing, all of that extra is profit. So I think at one point we might have been spending like $130,000 on marketing. And even though my firm was making more money by the time I sold it, it was the spend was much, much lower. We were spending well under maybe $90,000, well under $90,000 on marketing, because I was able to pinpoint exactly what worked and not waste a cent on things that didn't work. You will never have the wool pulled over your eyes with any guru agency ever again. Agencies were so shocked and surprised at the way that I would have conversations with them, because I could tell them like that, you've had this many clicks and you've had this many, unique visitors to your website. And I would say, well, I know for a fact that I've had, 10 calls, and these calls are costing this much. And out of those 10 calls, we were only able to convert 2. So that cost per acquisition is quite high. How can we lower that cost per acquisition? What do the ads look like? What's the messaging? We're getting way too many time wasters. They're not used to people being able to have those conversations. And I would love for all of you as law firm owners to be able to have that conversation and to know your numbers, because then you never can have the wool pulled over your eyes ever again. And what we tend to do is we say, here's my 40 grand, take it. And I'm praying that it works. Don't want you to be one of these lawyers needing to do that. Okay, Monique's asking some good questions. What's the best way to track numbers? We're going to get to that. And I've got some sheets for you guys. So we need to scale with certainty. We want to have control over retaining clients and our revenue. So I want to be able to go into 2026 and say, and I want you to be able to know, right, I want to make $1.5 million this year. I know my average dollar spend is this, and it might be this, and this per type of matter if you've got more than one practice area. So I know I want to retain X amount of these ones a month, X amount of these ones a month, and X amount of these ones per month. And if I do that successfully, I'm going to get this much revenue, and return on investment is going to be this much. So we want to be able to really do that. Bernadette said my spreadsheets are game changers for her team and her law firm life. That's awesome. So who's sold? Who has sold? Who has decided it doesn't matter what it takes to make this happen, you're going to make this happen? I'd love to see in the chat. Because it's not going to happen without you guys doing the work that needs to be put in place. And you will come up with some challenges in putting it in place. Yes, you're all on board, which is great. So let's get stuck in to how you can do this. Okay, so how do you implement the testing in your firm? So it's super easy, but you cannot find data in your practice management system. As law firm owners, our practice management systems, we have to remember what they are for. Our practice management systems are for a couple of things. They are for containing our clients' matters, managing our clients' matters. That's what the main purpose of your practice management system is for. And because our client matters are in there, we also do our billing usually inside our practice management system. Most practice management systems are awesome for managing our matters and doing our billing, which is all about legal service delivery, just one component of our law firm. When it comes to marketing our law firm, most practice management systems are not great. They do not provide good reporting. They do not magically have data that appears in there about our marketing. So get it out of your head right now that you can use your practice management system. I've not found one yet that works really, really well for this. The best one that does is Clio, because it's got Clio Grow, which is all about marketing. But if you're not using, you might be using Clio Manage, but not Clio Grow. And you don't need to necessarily. It can all be done outside. So it doesn't matter what practice management system, you are not going to use it for this anyway, okay? You're going to use something separate. So the 10 key things that you are going to want to measure, let's talk about that first. So the first thing is, I want you to know, if I say to you, how many inquiries did you have last month, Catherine? And Catherine will be able to say to me, we had 7 inquiries last month. And then she's going to be able to say to me, and they came from these sources. Out of those 7 inquiries, our lawyers had 50 new initial appointments. And out of those 50 new initial appointments, we converted 30 clients last month. And the number of marketing activities that we're running at the moment are A/B. So it might be that you're running meta ads, you're running a nurture sequence in an email newsletter, you are running doing referral marketing intentionally every month, and you're working on your SEO, for example. So we're covering all the areas there. And then we want to know how much you spent. So how much did you spend on meta ads? How much did you spend on your nurture sequence? How much did you spend on your referral marketing? How many cost agreements sent out? Now, depends on your business as to whether I measure this or not. I liked measuring this because I was not involved in any of the appointment engine in terms of, I didn't take calls, I didn't do initial appointments, I didn't do anything around that. But one of the ways that I could see from the data whether or not the client was retainable was by getting my team to send out a cost agreement. And I think it's a good strategy anyway. If your client is retainable, as in it's a great client that you'd love to work with and you can solve their legal problem, then it's a great idea to send them a cost agreement on the day of their initial appointment and to let them know how they can retain you. But it's also a good measure when you're looking at these numbers. So that's why I like that one. How many follow-up calls? Are you guys doing follow-up calls? Let me know if any of you are doing follow-up calls. It was something that I wanted to implement for a long time because I felt like when we had our appointment funnel, we had our inquiries, we had our appointments, and you know how, like, I don't know if anyone's here ever had tennis coaching. I have a couple of times and I'm real bad. And they would say, when you're playing tennis and you have to do this and then you bring your racket back, but you stop. Like, that's me. That's how I play tennis. And that's how I was doing my marketing. I was doing the initial appointment. They would go off their merry way and then we'd never follow them up. So it absolutely makes sense that you need to be doing follow-up calls. You will retain more. And ideally, your lawyers need to do those follow-up calls. I know that's hard. That's challenging, getting lawyers to do those kinds of jobs. But you will retain more clients if you do follow-up calls 100%. So that was a number that we measured every week because that keeps the team accountable. So I see Elizabeth, she says we do them at times. So the way you've capitalized that, it's like a frustration. You want it done all the time, but at times when they feel like it, they'll do it. And so you need to be more consistent. So measuring the number and reporting it back to the team. So we would report all these numbers back to the team, and I would reward like follow-up calls. And we would celebrate, oh, look, Levi did, 20 follow-up calls. Well done. That's awesome. So yeah, definitely that. Number of referrals, we would measure that. Mostly because we would measure each one, but referrals because then we can email the person and we can send a gift out and all that kind of stuff. And then of course, number of retained clients. So knowing funnel, how many are coming in and how many are actually retaining at the bottom. So those are the numbers we need to look at. So what should you measure? Whatever makes sense for your business and your practice area. Every practice area is a little bit different. Don't know what happened there to that. So what are your goals in your firm? So what revenue do you want this year? What profit do you want? And then you can work out how many clients do you need based on your previous 12-month average dollar spend. One, we can increase our average dollar spend. I know that there's some people here who have put their prices up recently, which is awesome. That means your average dollar spend is going to go up over the next 12 months, which is going to be great. So let's work out how we're going to be doing this. This is the big question. So how do you record your data? So the first step is to set it up as a system that your admin team can follow. So we would have, because where are the inquiries coming to? They're coming to admin. And so we would need our admin team to be on board with this, and we need them to have a system that's easy enough for them to follow. So what we would have is we would have a sheet just like this on Google Drive, and it would be available on the two admin teams for computer desktops on Google Drive. So it's a live document, and it's open all day long, so that when they get a call, they are popping in here how many calls they're getting and what sort of call it was. So what type of practice area they were looking for. And so here you can see, we've measured one and it's not family law. So, how many of those are you getting each week? And so here are the calls. And then they would also ask the question, where did you hear about us? And so then they would be able to put on here where they heard about us. So one, we would measure the type of matter, and then two, we would measure where they heard about us. And it's just those simple questions. At the call stage, at the lead stage, at that top of the funnel. And then we would go through the sheet, or as people converted into initial appointments, and they would tell us how many of those and which ones converted to initial appointment. And then we would retrospectively each month go back and see how many had converted. Yes, I've got these spreadsheets for you. I do. To make it really easy. You will just need to change your measurable. So here, and for us, one practice area, but many different little things within that practice area: divorce, parenting, property. And out of these, we have preferable and not, so legal aid, we didn't offer legal aid. Wills and estates, we didn't offer wills and estates. So you can see that we weren't getting any of these inquiries. There was a time that we were getting this inquiry all the time, but because we were still measuring it, but because I was able to tweak and tighten, then we were able to really make sure that we weren't getting the inquiry we didn't want. The other inquiry I stopped wanting was domestic violence inquiry. We just decided we didn't want to do domestic violence matters. We really wanted to focus on property and really niche into that area. And so you can see the inquiry is very low on just domestic violence as well. But it helps you to be able to tweak that. And then you can really see, like, where people are coming from. So email and phone calls for the majority. So data needs to be collected in real time. You cannot retrospectively put it in. People, you can't remember how many calls you've had or where they've come from. It needs to be done on the spot in real time. And then it gets put into this sheet once a week for me to look at. So I would know every single week how many inquiries, how many referrals, how many initial consultations, how many cost agreements, how many follow-up calls, what our spend was, and how many retained clients that week. Now, with this, we also had, with our weekly data collection, further data, but not outside of marketing. So I'm not going to talk about that today, but we would also collate, our team would collate for Femca and I for our leadership meeting to talk about all of this. So in real time. So I've got a question there, where to start. So the first place to start is getting this sheet on Google Drive so that it makes sense for your practice area, whatever it is. And your inquiry sources. So wherever you're getting inquiries from as well, wherever that makes sense, to update it. So if you are wills and estates, how many simple wills, how many testamentary trusts, how many powers of attorney, how many you might do probate, how many of these inquiries, and then where your sources are, Google, Facebook, referrals, and then just have this in a Google Drive. And then every day have the sheet open and make sure you record it every single week, because after a period of time, you're going to see a pattern, and you're going to be able to do something with that pattern. You're going to be able to tweak. Catherine's asked about LawTap. I actually stopped using LawTap probably 4 years ago or 3 years ago. So this is like old from then. And it was a pain. So we moved to Calendly and then we moved to ClearGrowth. It was a pose, and it might have improved now, but you didn't have control over the appointment, how it appeared in the calendar very well. And so, yeah, it was a bit of a pain. So we moved over to, it was just for booking appointments. So a team accountability. We need to know how well each staff member is converting calls. So your team who's taking calls, what are they saying? So how many calls are we getting? And then really sort of maybe work with them to ask them questions. What trouble are you having? We're getting a lot of legal aid clients, or we're getting a lot of these clients we don't need. Why are you putting them in as appointments? And really work out some questions and scripting that they can ask, so that you're not getting time wasters in that bottom of the funnel. And use the data to really train your team and improve those outcomes. So now you have data in place. You're going to need to run this data for 3 to 6 months before you even see anything. So it's going to feel hard at first. It's also going to feel hard because the team is not going to see the point, and it's another job for them to do. So you've got to sell it to them. And the way to do that is to say to them, I've noticed that we're getting a lot of calls and you're getting stuck on the phone with people who have inquiries with things that we don't help with. If I collect this data, I'm going to be able to improve the calls that we get through, which is going to save you time on the phone. What is in it for your person who is doing this data collection for you? Train them and tell them about what they're going to benefit from, and how they're going to benefit is it's going to free them up. Because if you're a receptionist at your law firm, there is nothing worse than being stuck on a call with a needy time waster trying to explain things when you've got the phone ringing over here, or you've got pressure to send out a cost agreement, or you've got other things that need to be done in the firm. So how is this going to benefit the person who has to do this data collection for you? Now, if you're solo and you're doing the data collection yourself, it's going to help you get more clients through the door because you're going to know what marketing works, and it's going to help you to save heaps of money. If you don't have to spend that 10 grand on marketing because you can save it, that's 10 grand in your pocket as a law firm owner. So that's the benefit. But when it comes to your reception, the benefit is it's going to save them heaps of time in the long run. So sell it and get them on board. Otherwise, they're not going to know, and they'll just be like, oh, it's another job, which it's not. It's a time-saving efficiency issue. So you are going to be able to know exactly where to spend your marketing dollars. You are going to know what levers to pull in your law firm for better results in real time. And you're going to have a system that's going to help you predict the future. So it's awesome when you can get your firm to a stage where it's like, next year I'm going to do 2.5 million. And I know I am, because I'm going to spend this much on marketing and it will result in this much revenue, because you know the numbers so well. So that's why it's so good. So this is one tool that will absolutely of your business when it comes to quality clients coming in the door and making sure that you've got those quality clients. So it's not, don't just think it's about the best fandangle agency that's going to make it work for you. Without this data, they can do their best, but you're not going to know how to tweak things. So stop the guesswork and implement this, start the test measuring. So you're going to remove heaps of doubt and heaps of expense. There's the doubt. You're going to remove the doubt. There's going to be inefficiencies wiped out of your firm when it comes to marketing, and excess cost as well. Yeah, it is really awesome. Now, if anyone has got any questions, we have got 5 or 6 minutes. I have got those sheets for you, and they will be uploaded in the portal underneath this class, which will be put on the Facebook group, and also I'll get Sunshine to send it out to you guys as well. If you're not getting the automated emails that come out from the program, maybe check your junk mail, because they might go there. Does anyone have any questions? Bernadette's got some great feedback. Results for us, we all work part-time now. We can spend more time with our families, and we have amazing quality clients that are coming through the door now. So Bernadette has put all of this in place. She's also put her prices up, and she has also said no to a whole section of clients where she's like, yeah, no, we don't want to serve those kind of people. We only want to serve these kind of people. And I think that knowing your data really helps you to make those decisions. And I know that Bernadette was scared making that decision, as in she had fear, as we will do with all of these decisions we make. But she was testing and measuring results. So she was able to make the change, because when you test and measure the results and you make a big change, you can then see in real time using your data whether or not it's working or not. And everything can be reverted back if it doesn't work. But she took a risk, which wasn't a big risk, because she was measuring everything. So that's the big difference. And another real life example of that in my own firm is that we were doing 1 hour paid and 1 hour free initial consultations. That was a limiting belief that I had, that if you had them in front of you for 1 hour and you gave them heaps of value, you'd convert them at a higher rate, or you'd get more inquiry in the door because you're giving away a whole 1 hour. I had this limiting belief for years and years and years. We would do 700 initial appointments a year. That's 700 hours In fact, that's more than 700 hours because they always run over in time. And I was fearful of moving our appointments from 1 hour appointments to 15-minute appointments. But I knew we had to do it because we were wasting so much time and efficiency and everything in the firm. But because I was testing and measuring, I knew that within 8 to 12 weeks, I would know 100% whether or not what the results were, because we were testing and measuring everything. And guess what? No different in results, but way less time. Like that's a quarter of the time. So massive efficiencies that you can create because you know your data. So at first it will feel cumbersome and it will feel like it's pointless, but it's not. In about 4 to 6 months, you'll see some patterns and you'll be able to rely on the data to make changes that really work for you. Does anyone have any questions? Meredith, what's the best way to decide what marketing strategy to use first? I have not done any paid marketing, so I don't have any data on this. This is the thing when you're down the track and you've done your testing and measuring, but at first you're going to have to just really test and measure it and do it and see what happens. But what I would say is you should definitely get your intentional referral marketing and your organic marketing really humming first, and get that working first, and then add paid marketing. And it just also, with paid marketing, it depends on the practice area as to what type of paid marketing works best. And there's lots of masterclasses on all of that kind of thing in there, and we can talk more about it. But absolutely get your referral marketing working better and intentionally, not just waiting for people to come along, but you actually go out to the marketplace, and then your organic marketing, as in get your website humming really, really well, get your funnels working well, like as in there's a website masterclass. Make sure your website is working properly with the right like calendar links and things like that. The perfect websites to look at, Bernadette's and Bronno Loan, they both have like, look at above the fold, what's happening above the fold in their websites. So book calendar appointments and all those kinds of things above the fold, lots of phone numbers, lots of call to actions. A lot of you don't have that on your website. But there's lots of masterclasses on all of those things. They are entire masterclasses, if that makes sense.
Can I ask a question out loud?
Yes, go for it.
Hi. Thanks, Carolee. One very practical question. You're talking about having this live spreadsheet that the staff add to
Yes.
on an ongoing basis as the day goes on. And so my question is, if you got 2 admin staff who are taking intake calls,
Yes.
how do you sorry, my phone is going off. How does that work? So,
Yeah.
did
So
you,
if
Mr.
it's in
Smith
Google,
called and, did you
yeah.
mark this one in, or did I mark
Yeah.
this one in? That kind of
So
thing.
if it's in Google Drive or if it's in OneDrive, it's a live document. And so
Right.
if I'm in the document updating it because I've just had a call, and then Susie's in the document updating it because she's had a call, it updates at the same time. So it's a live document. So that's why it's important that it's not just on a desktop. It needs
Right.
to be in a drive where it can be updated live. So Google Drive and OneDrive, where you've got your Excel spreadsheet open and live.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you. The
that
other
works.
question I've got is that we do, for our estate planning, which is where I'm growing and scaling, we do a 1-hour intake call for free, and then we go away and we scope the work, give a quote, and we have a very high conversion rate from doing that. So I hear what you're saying about doing a paid consult. But we have such a high conversion rate from spending an hour with the people, and then they can see the value and the complexity of what they need. So What are your thoughts on that?
On if you're wasting time spending an hour or could reduce it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it totally depends on it just depends on whether or not that's working for you and is efficient or not. So for us, it wasn't working, as in we would still only get the same conversion rate spending an hour as spending less. So the only thing that you can do is test and measure it. So for example, is there a way to be more efficient and reduce that time, do you think?
Yeah, possibly.
And then
We
test it.
actually, yeah,
So that's the
yeah,
only way of finding the real answer.
radio. Okay. All right. Thank you for that.
And I know with estate planning, like I've got other people in the group who would, sometimes they spend like 2 hours on sort of these strategies and all of these things before they convert the client. So, I mean, I would really be testing that out and seeing, is there a way of converting them in a more efficient way
Yeah.
with
What
less
it
time?
In our other practice areas, which is commercial law, we have totally moved away from the um, unpaid consultation because we would spend an hour with somebody, they would get the advice, and then they would go away and they'd never convert because we just
Yes,
gave them all of our intelligence and knowledge away for free. So
yes.
yeah, we've definitely put the shutters down on that one. But yeah,
It's
anyway.
interesting because it's like it's true that confused minds don't buy. And so if you put a 3-year-old child in front of like 40 flavors of ice cream, how long for that child to pick an ice cream, right? And so it's exactly the same, and when you hear a parent and they're like, oh, darling, which flavor would you like? It's like, oh my gosh, we're going to be here forever while this kid picks an ice cream. So it's the same with our clients. If we give them too much info, it actually confuses them. And so the info that we need to give them is, I can solve the problem. And the way that we do that in a call is listen, 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 listen. Yes, I can solve your problem. It's pretty cool. And do you want them solved? Then retain me and we'll solve it. So I think we overcomplicate because we think that and this is what we used to do, we think that in an appointment, we need to be giving them really good quality legal advice. The rule of thumb is that they have not retained you yet. So you are not being paid yet to give legal advice. And that legal
Yeah.
advice actually just confuses them. So we're
Yeah.
better off just giving them a bit of time to talk. They love that. And then we can say, yes, we can absolutely solve that problem for you. And with your so there's another one there, giving a free 20-minute consultation, but sometimes it extends to an hour. With that, what you can say in the first bit of the call is like, I know you're really busy today. I've got appointments as well, so we actually have to have a hard finish at 20 past. And just be upfront about it and just make sure that you stay on track in that appointment and you direct the call. Having a script really, really helps. So Bernadette said 2 months ago she got rid of all free consults. Scary getting rid of them, but it's made a huge difference. Clients value your time and they'll pay for it. So that's true. So a virtual assistant is a VA is a virtual assistant. So if you're starting to get your first employee, definitely get a VA, but make sure that they are just for one thing in your firm, that they're not for everything in your firm. So if you need help with like paralegal work, get a paralegal, someone who's worked in law before, and you can get them. That really great people in the Philippines can help you. And that's a great first employee or a great 5th employee or a great 15th employee. If you only need someone, for 10 hours, 20 hours, 40 hours, they're so awesome. I've had some amazing employees in the Philippines. Online PH is the website, and you can get them for $60, as in you can pay $60 to join that website, put an ad up, and that's a great start for a first bit of help. Awesome, everybody. Thank you so much for turning up today. Hope you enjoyed this call. All of the sheets that I've got for you will be underneath in the portal underneath the video, and we will also put it in the Facebook group for you guys. Online PH Sally, just Google that and it'll come up. All right, everyone. See you then. Bye.
Thanks very much.